He had everything: money, brilliance, power. But beneath Adrian Mercer's empire of code and glass was a man who made up his mind never to love again. That was before a woman with calloused hands and a heart of gold walked barefoot into his broken world and left him holding not one but two miracles. Hello, my beautiful family. Before you get pulled into the depths of this unforgettable story, pause for a moment. Have you ever been caught between logic and love? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe in case you haven't subscribed yet. Because here at Love and Twilights, we bring you the best love stories in the world. Now let's begin. A city where ambition never slept, Adrian Mercer ruled from the shadows of his glass citadel. His penthouse crowned the skyline like a throne room, sleek, silent, and removed. Below, traffic buzzed like a distant hive, but up here, the world was orderly, cold, and controlled. And that was exactly how he wanted it. Since the woman he once loved vanished from his life, leaving only a ring on the counter and silence in her wake, Adrian had transformed. Emotions were distractions, intimacy was dangerous, and love, a delusion for the naive. He built firewalls around his heart the way he built them into his servers, precise, impenetrable, and unyielding. Every morning followed ritual: 5:30 wake-up, ice-cold shower, espresso black, and 2 hours reviewing code with military discipline. Then meetings, projections, innovation summits. Adrian was a machine, efficient, untouchable, revered. But lately, in the quiet just before dawn, something gnawed at him. He'd find himself staring at the untouched bourbon he poured nightly, the glass trembling in his hand. The silence had begun to feel too loud, like a house too clean, too perfect to feel lived in. And it was in this quiet void that Lily Chin arrived, unnoticed, uninvited by fate, yet destined to leave fingerprints on every corner of his heart. She arrived before sunrise, dressed in plain navy slacks and a buttoned shirt that bore the scent of fresh detergent. Her braid swung neatly as she moved, mop gliding across marble so clean it already reflected the golden blush of dawn. Lily was not afraid of silence. She had grown up in it. Rooms too small, voices too weary, and walls too thin to contain dreams. But she carried her hopes like seeds in her pocket, planting them with every act of honest work. This job, high above the clouds in a home she'd never imagined stepping into, was just another patch of soil. She would give it care. She always did. As she reached to adjust a vase near the tall window, she paused. The view, endless roads ribboning beneath a lavender sky, pulled a quiet sigh from her lips. Somewhere down there, people were waking up, chasing purpose. Lily was chasing peace. For her mother's medicine, for her sister's tuition, for the promise she made to herself to never be ashamed of where she came from or where she was going. She didn't notice Adrian enter the room. He moved with the stealth of someone used to being alone. No creaking doors, no warning cough, just a faint shift in the air behind her. Lily turned, startled, and then stopped. Their eyes locked. Adrian was dressed in charcoal, not just the suit, but his presence, somber, sharp, intimidating. His gaze, however, was something else, curious, cautious. A storm held in restraint. "I didn't expect anyone this early," he said, voice even, but edged with something unspoken. She dipped her head. "Good morning, sir. I'm Lily. I started today." Her tone was respectful, yet steady, not the simpering kind he despised, but rooted, calm. She had pride, but not arrogance. Politeness, without fear. It caught him off guard. "I'm Mr. Mercer," he replied after a pause, eyes scanning her uniform, then lifting to her face. He expected her to look away. Instead, she held his gaze, not challenging, just honest. "Thank you, Mr. Mercer. I hope I'll be helpful." There was no flourish to the moment, no music swelling, but something passed between them, a ripple on still water. He nodded once and left the room, but his footsteps slowed down just before the hallway bent out of view. The following days settled into a rhythm neither had predicted. Lily worked in silence, yet her presence began to pulse through the apartment like warm light. She sang softly while she worked, lullabies that reminded Adrian of something he couldn't place, or perhaps had long forgotten. He noticed small things. The way she arranged the books not by color, but by mood. The way she paused at the windows like she was praying with her eyes open. The way she treated even dusting as an act of reverence. For the first time in months, Adrian found himself watching instead of avoiding. Once, when she dropped her cloth, he bent to pick it up first. Their fingers brushed. It was electric. He retreated immediately, annoyed at himself. But the next day, he lingered by the bookshelf just a second too long when she was near. She never asked questions, never pried. She never even hinted at his fame. Lily saw a man, not a mogul, and that perhaps unsettled him most of all. One evening, as the city dimmed to a candlelit hush, Adrian returned home earlier than usual. Lily was still there, adjusting the arrangement of flowers on the side table. The room smelled like lavender and lemon oil. She turned, startled. "You're home." He raised an eyebrow. "It is mine." She flushed, then smiled. "Of course. I just meant, I thought I had more time." He watched her for a moment, then walked over slowly. "You work late. I like to finish things properly." There was silence. Then he spoke, softer now. "You do everything properly." She looked up. Their eyes met. "You notice?" Adrian's voice caught in his throat. "I do." Adrian couldn't sleep. The lights of the skyline flickered outside his window like memories he couldn't erase. He poured himself another drink he wouldn't touch. Somewhere in the depths of his mind, a voice kept whispering, "You're slipping." And maybe he was. Slipping into something far more dangerous than chaos, connection. Lily had become a rhythm in his world. A quiet constant. She didn't demand attention. She earned it. Every moment she spent moving through his home, soft-footed, steady, etched itself into his routine. That night, restless and needing something, he walked down the corridor. The light in the study was still on. She was still there. Lily stood on a ladder, reaching for the upper shelves with a dusting cloth. One hand clutched the ledge for balance, the other brushed across leather-bound volumes. Her braid trailed down her back, catching golden light from the desk lamp. "You're still working," Adrian said from the doorway. Startled, she turned slightly. "I wanted to finish organizing the books before tomorrow." He stepped closer. "At this hour?" She gave a shy smile. "I didn't think you'd notice." "I notice a lot," he replied, voice lower now. Lily descended a rung on the ladder. "You should rest, Mr. Mercer." "Adrian," he corrected, surprising them both. She blinked. "Okay, Adrian." The sound of his name on her lips felt like a secret being shared. He reached out, steadying the ladder as she moved. "Let me help you." Lily hesitated, then nodded. Her fingers reached for the next shelf, and Adrian's hand instinctively rested on her waist, not possessive, just supportive. But it lingered. The contact sent a charge through both of them. "Do you ever sleep?" she asked softly, her voice carrying the weight of concern rather than curiosity. He paused before answering. "Sometimes, but not like I used to." Lily looked down at him, expression tender. "Nightmares?" "No," Adrian said. "Memories. They're worse." Her eyes softened. "You lost someone?" He nodded once. "I lost a version of myself, the kind who believed love was permanent." Lily climbed down slowly, one step at a time, until they were standing face to face. Her fingers were still dusted with work, but her presence felt clean and safe. "I'm not here to fix you," she whispered, "but if you ever want to remember what comfort feels like, I can offer that." Adrian studied her. "You're unlike anyone I've ever met." She gave a small laugh. "Maybe that's why you look at me like I don't belong here." "I look at you," he said slowly, "like I've been asleep for years and just woke up." A quiet hush fell between them. Then, cautiously, Adrian reached forward and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Lily closed her eyes, her breath catching. "You should sleep," she murmured. "I don't want to," he replied, and then he kissed her. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't rehearsed. It was the kind of kiss that asked a question. Lily answered with her lips, slow, sure, and tremulous with emotion. Her hands found the front of his shirt. His rested at her waist. They didn't move quickly. They didn't have to. Every second was deliberate, unhurried, meaningful. When they pulled apart, Adrian whispered, "You make it hard to keep my promises." She touched his chest, right where his heart beat furiously. "Then, make a new one." They stood in the silence for a long moment, breathing the same breath, suspended in a moment that neither wanted to end. The next morning, Adrian was different. His suits were still pressed, his voice still calm. But when Lily brought in the morning coffee, he turned with a softness she hadn't seen before. "You stayed late," he said gently. She shrugged. "You needed someone." He nodded, brushing her fingers as he took the cup. "And you came." Lily smiled and looked down, heart racing. I wasn't sure if it was allowed. From now on, Adrian replied, you don't need permission to care. In the following days, the space between them grew warmer. She started leaving fresh-cut flowers in his office. He began placing her favorite snacks in the pantry. They didn't speak about that night, but it lived in their glances, in the silences that were no longer empty, in the comfort of nearness. One evening, she found a handwritten note left on her cleaning cart. When the world gets too loud, your silence is the calm I crave. Her fingers trembled as she read it. She tucked it into her apron pocket like a talisman. The night rain came down soft and steady, tapping against the glass walls like a secret trying to be heard. The city outside blurred under the drizzle, but inside the penthouse, a storm of a different kind was quietly building. Lily stood at the dining counter, folding fresh linens, unaware that Adrian had been watching her from the shadows of the hallway for minutes. Something about the way she moved, deliberate, gentle, unhurried, felt like a balm. The sound of the television in the background whispered muted dialogue, but neither of them was listening. He stepped forward. I didn't mean to interrupt, he said. She turned, catching her breath at how close he suddenly seemed. You're not, she replied, setting the linen down slowly. Adrian's gaze moved over her, pausing at the little details, the faint dampness at her neckline, the way her fingers lingered over a silver spoon. She smelled faintly of lavender and warm vanilla. He didn't know how long he stood there without speaking. Lily tilted her head. Are you all right? Adrian let out a low, dry laugh. You always ask me that. Do I? He stepped even closer now. Every time, I think maybe I am. Lily's breath caught. Her heart raced. You don't have to say things just to be kind, she whispered. He shook his head. I'm not used to kind. I'm not used to this. Lily took a slow breath and whispered, you don't need to be used to it. You just need to let it happen. Something in those words broke the tension. Or maybe it deepened it. In one swift, breathless second, Adrian closed the distance between them. Their mouths met, like they'd been waiting for this moment longer than they'd ever admit. The kiss wasn't hesitant this time. It was need. It was quiet hunger wrapped in fire. Adrian's hands cupped her face, pulling her in closer. Lily's fingers fisted in his shirt, drawing him toward her with no pretense. He tasted like heat and restraint unraveling all at once. Their bodies pressed together in the center of the kitchen, the city behind them forgotten. He paused only long enough to look in her eyes. Tell me to stop, he whispered, hoarse. Lily shook her head. Don't. They moved together toward the hallway, each step slow and filled with aching purpose. In the bedroom, the air felt charged, not with lust alone, but with everything unspoken. The pain they shared, the isolation they buried, the hope neither had dared to feel. He kissed her again, slower now. His hands explored the contours of her body with reverence, like a man memorizing warmth after years in the cold. Lily let herself be seen, every inch, every scar, every sigh. She met him not just with passion, but with trust, the kind that asks for nothing and gives everything. Clothes fell away like whispers. Their bodies pressed close in the dim light, skin against skin, heartbeat against heartbeat. Adrian hovered above her, pausing with a tenderness that made her eyes sting. You're shaking, he said gently. I'm not afraid, she breathed. I'm just feeling everything. He lowered himself, their bodies aligning in one fluid motion. A gasp escaped her lips as she welcomed him in, not just physically, but completely. His movements were slow, aching with restraint. Each motion spoke of devotion, of gratitude. Lily arched beneath him, hands wrapped around his back, anchoring him. Their rhythm was unhurried, deep, full of emotion. Each breath was shared, each stroke intentional, building not toward a climax, but toward understanding. He kissed her forehead, her jaw, her collarbone. She whispered his name like a secret prayer. When the end came, it was not explosive. It was full, quiet, sacred. Like two souls sighing into each other, finally finding peace. They lay tangled in the sheets long after, skin damp with the quiet hum of satisfaction. Adrian stroked her hair, his breath still uneven. I never thought I could feel this again, he whispered. Lily rested her head on his chest, tracing small circles with her fingertips. You didn't lose your capacity to feel, she murmured. You just stopped believing anyone would earn your truth. He tightened his hold. I think I've been waiting for someone who wouldn't ask for everything, but who'd deserve it anyway. Lily tilted her face up, brushing his lips with hers. "And now? I want to give it," he said. "All of it." The morning sun crept in too soon. But for once, Adrian didn't rise at 5. He lay still, watching Lily sleep beside him, the weight of her body against his grounding him in the moment. She stirred, blinked, and smiled, and suddenly, everything he'd built alone felt incomplete without her. "Good morning," she said sleepily. "Best I've had in years," he replied. Lily giggled softly. "You're a different man in the morning. Maybe I'm just a man now. Not a machine." She ran a finger along his jaw. "I liked both, but this one feels real. Hello, family. Have you ever loved someone who made you feel human again? That one person who turned your silence into song? Share your story in the comments. And if this moment touched your heart, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still believes in second chances." The warmth between them lingered for days. In every passing touch, every exchanged glance, it bloomed. Adrian felt lighter, not careless, just less burdened. Lily's presence had become the quiet gravity of his world, pulling him gently towards something he didn't want to run from anymore. But life never stops testing what we value most. One morning, as Lily folded laundry in the sun-drenched den, her phone vibrated against the windowsill. She read the sender's name, and her heart flipped. International Artist Residency Committee. Hands trembling, she opened the email. Inside, a single sentence. "Congratulations. You've been accepted." It was the opportunity she had prayed for since she was 17. A 12-month residency abroad, fully funded, world-renowned mentors. It was everything she had once believed would finally prove her worth. But now, everything had changed. She should have felt joy. Instead, her eyes filled with confusion and fear. The paper confirmation arrived 2 days later. She tucked it beneath a pile of books on the side table, unsure how to speak the words forming a knot in her chest. How do you tell the man who just gave you his heart that you're thinking of leaving? Adrian noticed. Not the paper, not yet, but the shift in her energy. She smiled too quickly, laughed too softly. Her rhythm had changed. He found her sitting on the balcony one evening, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the horizon. "You're far away tonight," he said, stepping beside her. She blinked, startled. "I'm just thinking." "About what?" She hesitated. "About possibilities." He tilted his head, studying her. "Are you unhappy here?" "No." Her reply was too fast. "I'm just overwhelmed by how quickly things change." Adrian leaned on the railing, folding his arms. "You can tell me anything, Lily." She nodded slowly, but her eyes didn't meet his. He reached for her hand. "You're not alone anymore." Later that night, when she stepped out for groceries, Adrian entered the study to leave a note on her reading desk. While moving a stack of books, the corner of an envelope caught his eye. A flash of bold lettering. Curiosity became dread the moment he read it. The letter was brief, formal, and devastating. He placed it back exactly where he found it. When Lily returned, she found him in the living room, his posture tense, his expression unreadable. "Adrian," she asked, setting the bag down. He looked at her, and for the first time in weeks there was distance in his eyes. "Why didn't you tell me?" She froze. "Tell you? What?" He held up the envelope. "This..." Lily's face drained of color. "I was going to," she said quietly. "I just needed time to decide if you were going to disappear." His tone was soft but sharp. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Lily?" He stood, voice rising with emotion. "You were going to leave this life behind, leave me behind, and I had no idea." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't even say yes yet." "But you didn't say no," he replied. Lily stepped forward. "It's not a betrayal. This opportunity, it's the one thing I worked for all my life, before you, before us. It was all I had. And now?" he asked, his voice cracking. "What do you have now?" Her hands shook. "You, us, this home." "But Adrian, this isn't simple for me." His shoulders tensed. "Then make it simple. Stay." She blinked. "You want me to give it all up?" "I want you to choose me." Her voice broke. "That's not love. That's control." Adrian stepped back, wounded. "I've given you everything." "No," Lily whispered. "You've shown me a beautiful world. but I've never asked for all of it. The silence that followed was like glass, sharp and fragile. Adrian turned away, jaw clenched. Maybe I made a mistake. Lily's heart splintered. Don't say that. His voice dropped. I promised myself I'd never lose anyone again. And yet here I am. She tried to reach for him, but he stepped out of her touch. You should go, he said. Think. Decide. I don't want to decide alone, she said, voice trembling. But you already are. That night, Lily packed a small bag and left the penthouse. The elevator ride down felt endless. When the doors opened to the lobby, the night air hit her like a truth she didn't want to face. She looked back once, hoping to see him at the window. But the glass remained dark. Adrian never realized how loud silence could be, until Lily was gone. Her absence clung to every room like a shadow. The couch still held the imprint of where she curled up reading poetry after dinner. The mug with the tiny chip still sat near the sink, untouched. And in the hallway closet, her spare cardigan still hung, sleeves folded in like they missed her arms. He hadn't touched any of it. For the first time in years, Adrian skipped his 5:30 routine. The suit stayed on its hanger. The espresso grew cold on the counter. Work emails piled up unread. Nothing held his interest. Not even code, the one language that had always offered him control. Because now he was living in a house with no music, no laughter, no Lily. He scrolled through old security footage just to catch a glimpse of her, adjusting the vase, humming as she folded towels, smiling when she thought no one was looking. He watched until his vision blurred, until all the strength he had wrapped around himself began to fray. I told myself I wouldn't let this happen again, he muttered into the empty room. But he had, and not because he was careless, because he loved her. Across the city, Lily sat in her sister's small apartment, head resting on her knees. The offer letter lay open on the coffee table, its bold header staring back like a challenge. She had stared at it every night since leaving. At first, she told herself she needed time. Time to think clearly, to weigh the future. But time without Adrian didn't bring clarity. It brought ache. Her heart didn't feel lighter. It felt torn. She sipped tea, her thoughts adrift. He didn't even try to stop me, she whispered, to no one in particular. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. Adrian had asked her to stay. He just didn't know how to do it without sounding like he was asking her to sacrifice everything. And maybe she hadn't given him enough grace to try. She reached for her phone a dozen times, fingers hovering over his name and her contacts. But pride and uncertainty held her back, until a moment came that made it impossible to wait. It was raining again. Soft, steady, cleansing. Adrian stood alone on the penthouse balcony, watching droplets streak down the glass. He held a baby book in one hand, the one Lily had shown him weeks ago, the one with little quotes and lullabies tucked between pages. She had left it behind. Tucked inside was a slip of paper, a drawing, 2 stick figures holding hands, a tiny pair of twins drawn between them, laughing. At the top, written in Lily's delicate handwriting, one day. He ran a thumb over the ink, and something inside him shattered, not in despair, but in purpose. She hadn't walked away from him. She had walked away from a decision that neither of them knew how to face. And maybe he needed to be the one to show her that love didn't mean choosing between dreams. It meant building new ones, together. Lily had just pulled her coat on when a knock came at the door. She opened it to find Adrian standing there, soaked from the rain. No umbrella, no driver, just him. His eyes searched hers as if making sure she was really there. I don't have a speech, he said, and I don't want to argue. Then, why are you here? Lily whispered. He took a breath. Because I was wrong. I made you feel like love was a leash. It's not. Her throat tightened. I didn't want to choose between my future and you. I know, he replied, and I shouldn't have asked you to. Silence. I don't want to be the man who builds a world without the person who gave him a reason to live in it. Lily blinked through tears. He stepped closer. If you still want to go, I'll help you pack. I'll write to you every day. I'll wait for as long as it takes. But if there's even the smallest part of you that wants to stay. Hey, say it now. She looked into his eyes, rain catching in her lashes. I never left to run away from you, she said. I just needed to know if we were stronger than this moment. And are we? She reached for his hand. Yes. Hello, my family. Would you wait for someone if they needed to chase their dream? Or would you ask them to stay and build something new together? Drop your thoughts below. And if this scene made your heart ache in the best way, tap like, share with someone who loves love, and make sure you're subscribed for the final act. Adrian and Lily walked hand in hand through the rain-slicked streets, unbothered by the weather. For the first time in weeks, the silence between them wasn't tense. It was tender, healing. They didn't rush. She guided him up the steps to her sister's apartment, where a pot of chamomile tea still sat warm on the stove. They curled up together on the worn love seat, sharing a single blanket, his arm around her, her head resting near his heart. Adrian broke the silence first. "Tell me what you've decided." Lily looked up, the flicker of candlelight catching in her eyes. I turned it down. His brows knit. "The residency?" She nodded. "This morning. I sent the email before you came." "But why?" He whispered. "Because dreams can change," she said. "When I applied, I didn't know what it meant to be truly seen. I thought I had to prove myself to the world. But with you, I feel valued without needing to perform." Adrian exhaled slowly, as if he'd been holding his breath for days. "You didn't need to give it up for me." "I didn't," she replied. "I gave it up for me. For the version of me that finally believes love doesn't mean shrinking." His hand moved to cradle her cheek. "You've never shrunk. If anything, you made this whole world feel bigger." She laughed softly and leaned into his touch. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she admitted. "I wasn't sure I deserved to." They held each other in quiet agreement, both aware of how close they'd come to losing something neither of them had the words to name. Later that night, Adrian drove them home. The city lights passed by, no longer cold or distant. As they stepped into the penthouse, the familiar scent of wood polish and lavender greeted them like an old friend. Lily paused near the living room. He followed her gaze and smiled. "You missed this place?" "I missed us in this place." She walked over to the spot by the windows where they had shared their first quiet talk. "Everything's changed," she whispered. Adrian joined her, taking her hands. "No," he said. "It's evolving. Like us." Then, without ceremony, he dropped to one knee. Lily froze. "Adrian." "No speeches," he said quickly. "Just a vow." She watched, heart hammering. "I don't have a ring yet. I don't even know what you'd want it to look like. But I know what I want this to look like. Us, every day, through the ordinary and the extraordinary." She covered her mouth as tears pooled in her eyes. "I vow to love you when you laugh at my awful coffee, when you wake before me and hum while folding napkins, when you cry, when you shine, and even if you change your mind about the life you want." He stood and wrapped her in his arms. "No ring yet," he whispered, "but this heart is yours." Lily leaned up, kissed his cheek, and whispered against his skin, "You already gave me something better." He frowned playfully. "What's that?" She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small envelope. Adrian took it, confused. Inside was a hospital appointment card. His eyes widened. "I thought it was just stress," Lily said softly. "I was late, then later still, and now." She looked up with a trembling smile. "I'm carrying two little reminders that everything changed." His jaw dropped slightly. "Twins?" She nodded. Adrian's knees nearly gave out. "Twins." He cupped her face, kissed her deeply, then pressed his forehead to hers. "I once thought I'd die alone," he said hoarsely. "And now I'm standing in the middle of a life I never imagined, with a woman who gave it back to me, and two miracles I haven't even met yet." Lily touched his chest. "You're not alone anymore, Adrian. And neither are you." They moved to the bedroom, hands intertwined. No need for urgency. Just warmth. Just presence. That night wasn't about rediscovering passion. It was about affirming home. They undressed slowly, each touch reverent. Lily lay beneath him, curves glowing in soft light, and Adrian took his time tracing the lines of her body. He murmured her name like it was holy, kissed her slowly, deeply. When he entered her, it wasn't lust. It was devotion. They moved in rhythm, slow, sure, surrendered. Their breaths synced. Their hearts aligned. Each touch was a thank you, each moan a confession. And when they reached the edge together, it wasn't release. It was rebirth. 2 years had passed. The skyline hadn't changed much, still a patchwork of glowing windows and silver peaks piercing the clouds. But inside the penthouse, everything had transformed. Where silence once ruled, laughter now echoed. In the center of the nursery, 2 toddlers tumbled across a padded floor, their giggles turning ordinary air into magic. Tiny curls bounced with every wobbling step. Their names were stitched onto the backs of their soft pastel overalls, Noah and Nia, each named for strength and purpose. Adrian sat on the edge of the rug, legs crossed, watching them with a smile so wide it didn't seem to belong to the man he once was. No spreadsheets, no ticking clocks, just the rhythm of their laughter. Noah toddled over and clutched his father's finger with both hands, his balance still uncertain, but his trust absolute. Adrian scooped him up, kissing the boy's forehead as Nia squealed and climbed into his lap with determined little grunts. From the hallway, Lily watched the scene unfold, her heart swelling at the sight. She had just returned from the community gallery where one of her recent paintings now hung. A woman who once scrubbed crystal vases was now showcasing watercolors about motherhood and second chances, her journey etched in color. She didn't trade her dream. She redefined it. Later that evening, they gathered in the living room for their nightly ritual. Adrian placed the twins in their high chairs while Lily lit a small scented candle. The air filled with soft vanilla and the sound of little spoons tapping on tiny bowls. They fed the children slowly, bites between jokes and nursery rhymes. When the last spoonful was gone, Lily wiped tiny faces with careful tenderness, laughing as Noah attempted to smear applesauce onto his sister's cheek. Adrian shook his head, amused. "He gets that from you." "Excuse me?" Lily smirked. "I was a very tidy child." He leaned over and kissed her temple. "But a beautifully messy woman." The twins clapped, unaware but thrilled by the joy around them. That night, after the babies were tucked in, Adrian and Lily sat by the large window, sipping tea and watching the world below. "I used to look out there and feel nothing," he said quietly, "like the lights didn't belong to me. And now?" Lily asked. He reached for her hand. "Now I look, and I see a future I want to wake up to." She squeezed his fingers. "I used to think love was a destination. Turns out, it's a home you build from scratch." They sat in silence for a moment, the hum of the city below like a lullaby. Adrian turned to her, brushing his knuckles along her cheek. "I broke my vow, you know. The one where you said you'd never love again?" He nodded. She smiled softly. "You didn't break it. You rewrote it." They stood and moved quietly to the nursery, peeking in on the sleeping twins. Adrian bent down and adjusted the blanket over Nia, while Lily stroked Noah's curls gently. Their children didn't stir. They slept with the peace of being wanted, cherished, chosen. As Adrian wrapped his arm around Lily's waist, he whispered, "This is the only kind of legacy I care about now." "Then we've already made it," she replied. Together, they stepped back into the hall, dimming the lights behind them. They didn't need fireworks or declarations, just this, a life built from broken promises and honest love. A family born not from perfection, but from truth. Years from now, when their daughters ask how it all began, Adrian and Lily will smile before answering. Not because it was easy, but because it was earned. They'll speak of quiet mornings, where a woman with calloused hands brought softness to a hardened heart. Of how a man who built walls of steel found healing in warm eyes and lullabies hummed under breath. Of broken promises mended not with words but with presence. They'll talk about choices, painful, necessary, and brave. About how love doesn't rescue you from life, but gives you the strength to face it. And how some of the most important vows are whispered at midnight, wrapped in silence and held in arms that never let go. Adrian Mercer, the man who once vowed never to love again, became the kind of father who wrote bedtime stories on sticky notes and sang out of tune just to make his girls giggle. And Lily, the maid who entered quietly before dawn, became the woman whose paintings now hung in city galleries. The same woman who redefined what it meant to chase dreams without leaving love behind. Their life was not perfect, but it was whole, full, built on second chances and small gestures that meant everything. Some nights, when the city is quiet and the twins are asleep, Adrian still stands by the glass wall of their home. Only now, he doesn't stare into emptiness. Now he watches the lights below and sees possibility. He sees Lily. He sees family. He sees the life he never believed he deserved, and the love he could never again imagine living without. And Lily? She joins him there, wraps her arms around his waist, rests her chin on his shoulder, and whispers, "We made it." They did. They made it. Not because they never fell, but because they always reach for each other on the way back up. That's what real love does. It doesn't just hold you, it grows you. And in the quiet sanctuary they built together, Love didn't just return, it multiplied. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that love isn't lost, just waiting to be rediscovered, leave us a comment in the comments section below. Let's fill this space with hope. And if you believe in stories that heal and inspire, hit subscribe and share this with someone who's waiting for their own second chance. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories begin after the vow is broken.